Hi guys, just thought I'd make another video, and on the day off in Hunstanton today. This could be anywhere in the world, and I've just been walking through, on this journey, and I'm realising that imagine that your life is about to end and you just think, what can I do for an alternate life? Perhaps I might want to, contemplate for my other videos of moving abroad to start a new life in Malaysia. From watching my other videos, you can follow me on BitChute. Society is rigged if you have a BPM to catch up with why I want to immigrate to a different country. Now, I've had a troubled childhood and was diagnosed with Asperger's in my childhood, making things extremely difficult. I've documented quite a bit about my narcissistic parents. I've written 3 books of my life: The Working Holiday Visa, South America. I've uploaded those on BitChute, but now I'm coming up to 49 years old, and I think I've done everything that I need to do in life now. I'm debt free. I set my own business up from scratch. I've worked in the menial jobs. I've had the narcissistic bosses and the control freaks. I've been on the working holiday visa. I've been, sort of working as a digital sort of nomad visa in Asia for a while, but it wasn't called that in 2010. But now I'm thinking of just moving to a different place of the world. I've built my own gardening business. I'm in over 8 years self-employed. Before that, I was doing a multi-level marketing course with Clean Easy, and I've had over 10 years of not working in the actual workforce, having a 9 to 5. That's a big achievement for many people. But now, I've come to a stage now that I just want to leave the country. It's like I feel trapped living in the UK. It's like the gardening business, it's like I'm learning all the time, but I just can't seem to grow. Since 2020, the cost of living's been astronomical. I just can't, grow. And I feel like, I don't know, if I was to rewind the clock back and just to change things in my life, what would you change if you could live your life either in reverse or at the beginning? I don't think there's too much I would actually change, really, except my childhood. Perhaps I would have paid more attention at school, aimed for the grades, but I was bullied and ridiculed at school for being different. But now I realise I haven't got the Asperger's, what some people have diagnosed. I've identified myself as a Sigma male, and it's just everyone's got a different wiring of the brain, and from the Greek, and if you were to follow the Greek alphabet and just type in gamma, iota, male or phi male, or your personality, you're likely to identify your personality trait along that line. So I don't know what to say. If I was to relive my life again, I would certainly pay a lot more attention at school with the education. I would have just done the homework. I would have enjoyed the lectures. I was very fidgety at school, couldn't sit still. I was just asking too many questions, too curious. I do all that. When it comes to relationships with the opposite sex, wasn't very successful to begin with. I don't think I'll bother changing that. I think I'll just, accept the fact that I was unsuccessful with the relationships. I observed at a very young age of the turbulence of entering into any sort of relationship. 16 years old, if I knew what I would have known now, should I have, continued my interest and pursuit into plants and knowledge? Big question. Perhaps not. And the reason is that if I had started the business, I don't know, 18 years old, went to college, studied horticulture and all that, then I might have started the business in my 20s, got all self-employed. But I don't think I would have had the smarts at that age to do all that, so I might have worked in a 9-to-5 job at a nursery, but there's no way when I was in my 20s I could have anticipated at the age within my 40s of running my own company, my own limited company. You see, in life, you all live different stages in life, and that's evolution. For me, I've been brought up poor mentality, narcissistic parents. I went to special school when my sister went to a grammar school for highly educated, expecting her to be the breadwinner, but it's the other way around. I've actually exceeded her in many ways. But coming up to this age now, what am I, 48? I'll probably have to start thinking of the pressure of retiring. But I don't know what to do if I was to retire, because I spent over a year in South America, and to be perfectly honest, a lot of the time when I moved from city to city or town to town, I was bored, my mind was unoccupied. So I've written all the memories down of what I did out there, in case, as you get older, the memories tend to fade a little. I was documenting my life so far up to X, Y and Z. So I'm just going along that route, but I just feel in this society now that I've done everything. I've done self-employment. I've done the 9-to-5. I've done the travelling. But now I just feel, the more I achieve in life, the less I have in common with people. Been doing this for years. Just, people around me, for instance, it's like when I have a conversation with them, it's just like I tell them what I've done in my life, expecting them to have matched me. But people like twice my age, or 10 or 20 years younger than me, haven't kind of have been stuck in a rut. They might have more money than me, they might have had a mortgage, and they might have had children. But the trade-off is that there's quite a lot of envious talk, and it seems to me that the older you become, the more you do in life, the less you seem to have in common with the people around you. It's like, if I was to travel again, it just won't be the same, because the technology's out there. What is there exactly to do in life, really? Except, I don't know, what is there exactly to do once you've done your pursuits, once you've done your retreats or anything like that? I keep thinking that one day perhaps I want to go sailing, quit everything and just go sailing into the unknown. Do you feel like that at times, that you just want to, you know, wish you were on a desert island and what I'm trying to say, I'm not always great with words, and be somewhere like in a storybook, or perhaps you want to, you know, read a brilliant book like Lost in the Jungle by Josie Gisberg and investigate how he actually managed to survive in the jungle. Do you just not want to go to read a really good book and take off to those places to find out how the author, you know, experienced that type of place or experienced that moment in life, or to, you know, check up on the geography of the area to see if there's any discrepancies in his story? I've done this a few times, like Stephen Baxter, the story in Moonseed. There was an incident with Dungoyne and Dunfoy, the two mountains in Scotland together, and I just wanted to, you know, go there and see myself what it was like to be in the spot where all the magnetic plumes, science fiction by the way, Stephen Baxter, the book Moonseed, how everything, you know, how the earth turned itself inside out with the magma and the volcanic stuff. You don't just want to go to these sorts of places and envision the, you know, authors, or more importantly, do you not want to write your own story, your own book, and, you know, get it written? You see, I'm walking away from civilization, and you just need a book, a rucksack, a few stories to tell people along the way, and that's it. For many, this could be a real journey of a lifetime. All you need to do is just pluck up the courage and walk the line. You see, I'm just practicing this walk like walking off a job, and I really want to get out of the UK because the cost of living is just astronomical. I just feel like I've outgrown Peterborough. I feel like I don't belong there as such. When I walk through the centre, I just don't feel I know the place anymore. All the places what I once knew are no longer there. As a teenager, there's nothing to sort of, you know, no connection. People change as they get older. I just feel now that I'm just worn down. I've been running the business for years. I can't buy it, can't expand it. Too much money. I think cost of living is going up, and if I took on staff, I have to keep paying them more money and wages and more stress. Is it really worth it at the end of the day? Do you not realise in life that you feel defeated? I feel completely, utterly defeated in life at the moment. I just want something other than this monotonous in life. So if you guys feel like this, when you reach certain milestones, a lot of people have done a lot more than what I've done. But for some reason, they feel like they can't fit in anywhere. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like you've done your travelling, you lived abroad, you lived in different countries, you've rented apartments, you know the infrastructure of X, Y, and Z, you know the strengths and weaknesses of living in this country, but there are just a few essentials you've got to do that you've got to accept. You've got to have a skill, you've got to have some kind of income to come in, or more to the point, learn the language. It's like when I reflecting back, whilst I was travelling around South America and Argentina, I had a great time. I found the people so open and talkative. There was a lot of action, especially the city Cordoba. I was learning Spanish fairly well. I was talking Spanish every night. There was like plenty of bars and nightclubs. I built a lot of confidence up there. At times some nights I spoke to the locals, practiced the Spanish. Some days I pulled a girl and practiced that. Sometimes I even got acquainted with a school from Plotia, and that really helped the language carry on. But I felt, whilst I was travelling around in certain places, like the vibrant cities, that I came alive. I thought, is this something wrong with me? Have I missed something? Should I have become like this in the UK? But it's only when I returned to the UK and I thought I'll adopt this new, enlightened approach. But it doesn't work at all over here. It's just like everyone's just so, reserved and introverted, especially the British. But, I don't think I was born to live in a flat. I've outgrown everything. I don't know if you feel like that, but in your own surroundings, do you feel like you've completely outgrown everything? Do you feel like... Sorry about this one. Do you feel like you've completely outgrown your surroundings? Do you feel like every single day you wake up and it's a bit of a chore just to get out of bed? And it's a bit of a chore to, if you're a tradesperson, to load up your van and unload it in the evening. And, you can't, get a bigger place because the rents are so damn high to pay, and there's nowhere to really go to meet the opposite woman or male, or depending on what your sex is. And then, more to the point, is you've done a hard day's work and you're a single person, you go back to an empty property and you're too tired to cook. But the food that they serve, like in restaurants or takeaways, is overinflated, poor quality, and then all you just do is want to just collapse out. So you end up just cooking chicken and vegetables and gravy or stuff like that. I don't think I could go any further. It's just, I think this is like as far as I can go. But do you not feel kind of like that in life? Do you not feel like... But this life, if you were to, just put some boots on and just sell everything up and just walk the planet on, or do whatever you need to do. You not feel like eventually this lifestyle will get boring as well. There's plenty of stuff you can do now. You can do lots of bloggings, you can write a book and, you know, do X, Y and Z. The technology's out there to do it all now. But you've got to have some sort of passive income. And that's probably something that I'm going to have to try and work on if I was to sell everything up and get these X, Y and Z figures. Of course I've got to inform the Inland Revenue or country that I'm moving to and get the right papers per country. But I don't feel like, I feel it's all wrong now. I wish people, you know, have this freedom of movement throughout the world. You can go anywhere you want. And, you know, certain countries or certain parts of the world, like, it's designed for your own religion. You go there, you practice it, but you don't bring it over here and interfere with other religions. But, you know, you get a lot of, you know, taking days off after work. We all need to work when we're travelling. It's really, really important to work, because the mind goes cuckoo if it's not engaged in anything. It's like whatever you're, because when I was in South America, I'll tell you a story, I was actually designing my own fitness business, and to be perfectly honest, I was doing classes like, you know, circuit trainings, Pilates, you know, all this type of, you know, body pump, aerobics, all similar, you know, sorts of things and setups, but different run. And I was just generating incomes per class, like 30, you know, £6 a class or something like that, and 12 people in there per hour. That's your hourly rate, and which you can do another one or something like that. It's really simple, really. If you're a designer, you could do, you know, go to different parts of the world, or if you want to manufacture something and bring it to your own country. Again, if you go to somewhere like Ethiopia, I was there in my early 20s, and the guys out there who I met were into the coffee business, and they were, one of the guys from the US was trying to bring the coffee, export their coffee to the US, and I saw some of the diagrams of the coffee bean. It's stuff like that you can do. If you're a janitor or a gardener, I'm a gardener like myself, you could go and, you know, visit these like factories or, you know, units or warehouses in these parts of the country and just see how it's done out there. If I ever go to Southeast Asia, etc., we'll be looking at the nurseries and planting out there, so I can, you know, move forward. Now, I think the most important person for a 48-year-old at my end is meeting the right people, gelling with them. For instance, some of the people who I met whilst travelling for only 24 hours, but they were like lifelong memories. It's like, I felt like in an hour, I felt like I've known these people a lifetime. It's just having such a great time. But you've got to understand that you're never ever going to see these people ever again. That's what I'm sort of saying, really. It's like, read the book Into the Wild by Christopher Candace, the guy, or John Craner's books. And then you'll get this Chris McCandless who, you know, came from an elitist sort of family, decided he didn't want to live that lifestyle, so he just changed his name to Alexander Supertramp and decided to, you know, walk the earth. He did an interesting thing, lived in farms, worked in menial jobs. Sadly, he wanted to test the limits of endurance and ended up dying in a bus in Alaska. But at least he did what he wanted to do, even though he was reportedly didn't have a lot of common sense in this, that and the other. He just did things willy-nilly to a degree. But he wasn't a stupid man. But he just chose not to follow the, you know, the boring elitist path of marriage, children, the 9-to-5 job, the career, the news. He just, you know, paid no attention to authority, just found like everything was just, you know, an inconvenience, like crossing borders into Mexico, where he canoed into Mexico and didn't tell the authorities in the US that he was doing that. But at least he had the guts to do it. Now imagine if yourself decided that you totally had enough of money, you totally had enough of what I've just said, and decided that I'll take my chances and go into the wilderness, having no sort of fear of death, getting that idea out of the head that when you're working in a job you're going to think you're going to live forever, getting all that out of your system and just saying, right, up and go, and that's it. Got your money in the bank, just to say, we're not just cut your money off so you could have a few necessities for a little while. But you've got to think of yourself as a refugee sometimes and think, I read this book called The Last Escape about all the prisoners of war that were captured by the Germans and then fell into the hands of the Russians. How they endured like a 500-mile march across Germany to get away from the Russian army. And these guys, or probably women as well, were, you know, on starvation diets, marching in minus 25 below zero temperatures, ice, snow, sleeping out in the woods and in barns, sleeping, you know, drinking, you know, snow and urine that the other prisoners have, you know, and getting dysentery along the way, having amputations from frostbite, and then dying along the line and getting beaten, shouted and abused by the captives, and then enjoying that sort of life, and teaches you a lot about, you know, what's going on in the world. For me, for instance, I just feel for these guys that actually were, you know, prisoners. Anyone that fought in the wars has had some dire stories to tell, even both sides or all sides. You see, I just don't want, I don't know, I think I've got it all at the moment. That's why my mind's just craving for something a little bit, you know, different. I don't know if you feel like you've got what you want now. You've done everything. You've had your 4-bedroom house. You've had your 3 or 4 cars or something like that, sports cars. You've had the trophy wife. You've done your you've got your kids, you've got 6 or 7, you know, you own your properties and all that, and now you just think, I've done that, I've got the picture, I want to do something else. What is it? And then you just start wondering and thinking, is there more to life than, you know, the going through traffic jams and going to work, hearing the news, hearing the radio, the stupid monosyllabic rubbish they talk about, topics that have, you know, insequential, listening to infrastructures that are crumbling away like the NHS, hearing about the migrant crisis, the immigrants, the stabbings, the murders, the CCTVs, these, you know, all that. You don't just want to, you know, appreciate the finer things in life, like walking along those dunes, getting some sort of, you know, tranquility or some, you know, unknown. Because I think the best thing to do if you're on this way is to read plenty of books. But don't you think that reading book after book after book after book get also after a while gets a bit, you know, comforting? Do we all, you know, feel like we need that little bit of spice, that little bit of adventure just to keep us going? It's like this guy over there, I think he's just walking around the coast, he's just doing what he needs to do. Imagine me walking around the UK coastline. I keep saying I'm going to do it, but when am I going to do it? How many people do you know that are holding you back in life? Like your friends and family saying, oh, I'd love to do that one day. Just wait, I've just got to save up the money. I've just got to save up, you know, I've just got to save up. I promise I'll have the money next year. Or they might say, oh, next year, perhaps I'll have the money and I'll be able to do this trip. But, you know, next year was said like 6 months ago. But they're still, but then you meet them again, they're always saying next year, next year, next year. Trouble is, you've got to, the time is now. If you know what I'm talking about or not, just do something in your, if you, whatever age you are. Realise it's being drummed in by so many people that the 9 to 5, the career, is out of date now. The only people that benefit are the elites. If you've had a checkered past or criminal record, probably this may apply to you, that you probably might have done time in jail or something like that, and realise that you've been on all their programs that have to be put you back into society, and you realise it doesn't work. None of them work because no one gives you a chance in life. Saying if you're born differently with a disability or intellectual disability or physical disability, you're sort of, you know, in that way you're sort of protected. People say, no, you'll never amount to this, you'll never amount to that. The time is now to, you know, take a board if you're going to watch this video and start, I don't know, doing it. Start making something of your life. Because I think, I'm no expert, but I think the best thing in life is the best thing in life are stories to tell people and to tell yourself. I don't mind doing the extra work. It's like now I keep making these videos and I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself to take action, but I realise making these videos, time just slips away. When am I going to make this move? 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, I'm still talking the same fucking shit then and on now. And you should be the same. You wake up in the morning, same situation. What are you going to do? Oh, talk about the same shit day in and day out. Make videos, put them online. You just do it, like I say. If you can get a channel going, fantastic. But otherwise, just treat it as a job. Just say to yourself, I don't care what you think. I'm doing this for me. I'm making these videos for me. A bit like a job you don't like and you have to enjoy every day, like, you know, picking up broom up in that factory or something like that. Just sort of say, and all the, you know, the yakkers who are sucking up to the supervisor, taking the piss out of you, and they're looking at you with that broom and just laughing at you because you're doing your job well. Just sort of say to them when you're in that situation, and say, I'm not doing the job for them, I'm doing it for me, because that skill, that broom in my hand is going to come in bloody useful once I leave your factory or job or whatever it is. Just have that mentality. If you get annoyed with your supervisors and if you're left alone for a period of time, bring in some music, listen to a story, and just, you know, get through the day that way. If you don't like talking to your work colleagues, that's probably the best way to do it. Get a story and work for, sorry about the fingers, and just do that. But, you know, if you've got a book, write that out. But of course, that's a journey in itself. I'm probably just going to stick it on. I'm probably going to, you know, record it. So I don't really want to keep talking about the past all the time. I don't want to talk about what happened in my childhood. If people want to ask questions, I just go, there's a little bit of money. Pay 10 quid and you'll get everything there. And that's it. I don't want to talk about the past anymore. I suppose you guys don't want to talk about it either. I've just been in business for 8 years, and to be perfectly honest, there are times that I'm still learning. The journey is great, but eventually I want to quit it and do something else. I think 10 years is enough for anything, to have the friendship, to be in a job, overstretching it in a job, and you know, having a mate. Because people change, people shift in different directions, especially today. Once I used to have conversations with people and it used to be naturally flowing. Now I can't even talk to these types of people. Same with probably with yourselves, that you probably know people in your past that you had such a great relationship with, but now for some reason you've all outgrown one another. The thing about me is I've got to a stage now that I can't really, unless I do something really big. I've tried everything in the UK. I've tried to socialise with people. I tried to, you know, be accepted. I've tried to fit into this X, Y and Z group. But I've never been happy. I cannot in these groups. Number one, the gossiping and the backstabbing and, you know, that. I cannot accept it anymore, and people are just too shallow and scared to do things. People think the same too much. I want to move on, but how can, you know, today I spent a lot of time today doing some diagrams. I know I'm quite random here, but this is a random video. But you're always trying to improve things in life. Like, you know, I was doing some sketches today, like gardens, and I'm just working out how do I get money in quicker. So I bought some notebooks, I bought some hooks to hang up the tools a bit more, just to cut things out of my life a little bit more, just to make things a lot more simpler. But I feel like I'm getting close. I feel this year I've got about £6,000 of debt to pay, like storage and all that. I've done everything that is, you know, to try and get off till April, so hopefully in December, or I could just go off and do this pursuit. I'll get the passport sorted out yet. That's of course if my health holds up, of course, and things don't go too wrong. But you know, you're not on this planet forever. And now, since all this technology and this social media, it just sucks the life out of you. It's like all these channels to follow. I just wish I want to be the first one to actually, you know, do what I'm preached and actually make that transition. I'd love to make the videos of how I go about selling the property, how I actually do it stage by stage. That's my mission at the moment. At the moment, I'm just, you know, gradually filling up my boxes and taking things out of my living room and, you know, stacking them all up, just hoping for the eventual move. I don't know what's around the corner, and sometimes you can, you know, do too much contemplative analysis and not get anywhere. You never, and think about it this way, you're never going to be ready, you're never going to be complete until in life. You're never going to feel like, oh, I've got everything under control, I've got all my education, blah blah blah, I've got my skills up to date, I'm just going to go off and just do whatever you want. I don't think you're ever going to feel that way. So much out there. There's all that ocean over there, you've got all this land, you're never going to see it all. Lots of people, you're never going to get into the minds of, you know, the billions of people on the planet. Their mindset, everyone's all different, everyone's got a unique program, a different journey, different timeline, different story to tell. And what do? We all just, you know, stay on our social medias, we endure the mundane life of TV and mediocrity. I don't want to live like that anymore. People are going to say, oh, what about money? What about hospitals? Oh, you might die if you go to this place. I'd rather die exploring than fucking die in you know, my deathbed. Because at the end of the day, to finalise this video, no one's ever laid on their deathbed and wished they'd done more. Bye for now.